Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be going over how to recruit in NCAA 25 or college football 25, whatever you want to call it, in Dynasty mode. Now, me being someone who didn't play NCAA 14 at all, this was completely new to me. Like, literally didn't know anything of how to recruit. And I learned it honestly pretty quick. It took a little bit of time. So, just ahead of time, if you could like and subscribe, definitely took a little bit of tampering with trying to figure out how is the best way to go about it, but we're gonna show you from the start right away. You could pick what school you want based off stars, and this is the first thing that is going to affect how you are when it comes to recruiting. Obviously, if you pick a 5-star school, you're going to be able to recruit a lot easier. You get more hours to recruit, which will show you what hours are and what they mean, but you get more for the better school you are. You have higher, school grades. It's just overall is really easy. And then if you're a 1-star school, it is a lot harder to recruit talent. And for that reason, for this video, we probably are going to go as like a 2-star school just randomly. Let's pick a random 2-star school. So we're going to go with Utah State, okay? Now, where you pick does matter because, let me back out really quick. Where you pick does matter because if I pick a school like here, right, with Maryland Terrapins, if I pick this school, a lot of the players in the Maryland area are people that are in what is called your pipeline. So you have to pick a school, and whatever school you do pick, expect to get talent in that relative, location of wherever you picked. Next, you're able to pick, if you want to be a coach, you could either take over or make one. There is 3 options if you do make one. I always go with recruiter, and I will tell you why. You should always pick recruiter once we get to the further step. And then last, before we get kind of into the actual franchise, you have your alma mater and your pipeline. These are the only things that really matter about your coach. Your alma mater it does kind of choose a pipeline for you. If I say my, alma mater is Baylor, or let's go with like Auburn. Basically, wherever the location of that is gonna be your pipeline. So if I put my alma mater as Arizona, the location of Arizona, I'm going to have a better pipeline in that area. And then same for your other pipeline. If I go in any of these areas, it's going to be a increased pipeline for you. So what I like to do is go in kind of hotbed areas, or areas that I think are relatively still close to you because it still helps you a lot. So, for example, we're going Utah State, so our alma mater is Arizona and Southern California, which are 2, local, kind of states near Utah. So you're still in the general area. And that's really all that matters about, your coach. Obviously, they can customize what you want, playbook, the name, how they look, all that. That does not matter at all, though. Now that we are actually in the dynasty that we created, you see in the top right, we have our 5 coaching points, which I will now explain why you should always pick recruiter. At least if you're a bad school, which is, I'm assuming if you are on this video trying to figure out how to recruit talent, you're probably picking a bad school. But you get these 5 skill points that you'll start off with, and I'll also explain why you should always pick recruiter. And this just, obviously is a tree that you're going to have to max this out, I think, if you want to, increase the likelihood that you get some of the top prospects, as it does really help. I would use these first 5 points in the position that is the biggest need for your school. So if I don't know what Utah is, I haven't looked at the roster, but if our biggest need is DBs, we're going to go upgrade DBs. So let's hope they actually need DBs because I actually used it here. But you should max out this whole tree. I usually don't focus on the kicker one until I'm finished with all the rest. But you should always pick recruiter because obviously this is going to help you recruit talent. The other 2 things you could choose are motivator and tactician. A lot of the things that it does help you with are things that you can't really control other than the players that are already on your team. So if your team's not good yet, then these aren't going to matter because your team's not good yet, and you get boosts for like players getting drafted or boost the overalls of players already on your team. If your team's already not good, you're trying to acquire talent rather than develop the talent that's already on your team. So that's the first thing. And then obviously the big part is the recruiting, which is exactly why you clicked onto this video. So every school, it is different. If you look in the top right, we have 575 hours with Utah State. So every state and every college is different based off kind of how good your school is. What I like to do first is sort by interest. And especially as a bad school, some of these 3 stars, it is definitely a good idea to go after early on. But I would obviously not go after only 3 stars. You could definitely get some 4 stars. But if they have high interest in you, there's a really good likelihood they would commit really early on in the process rather than, week 9 of the season. And you already have spent so many scouting points on them, which we'll also go over how you get your scouting hours back. Once, you take them off of someone or once someone commits, you'll get your hours back. And that is really the key to having a really good class in this game is trying to get people to commit early. Because if they commit early, then that means that you'll get your hours back and you can go and try to find other people. So I'm going to make a scouting board and come back after that. But before that, I am going to look at the team needs for y'all. This is something you could definitely use by clicking down on the right stick. And I think this is something that you definitely should use when it comes to scouting. As you could look at all your positions that you need players in because you either have people graduating and you could see the position ratings. So you could see, right here on our team, our lowest is obviously fullback because we don't have one. But after that, it is our center because our highest overall center is a 71. And so you should definitely look at both the ratings and the needs. Obviously, if you need that, it's because you have seniors that are graduating and you wouldn't have the minimum amount of players you need in that position. And I would look at a lot of these before you actually make your scouting board. For example, right now, tight end isn't a position in need because we have so many, and it is one of our higher grades. Now, it wouldn't make sense for me to go onto the prospect board and look at, let's go here. It wouldn't make sense for us to go look at the top tight ends and just try to get a whole bunch of tight ends on this team. Now, if there is a tight end that has 0 offers and we're a few weeks down the road, then it doesn't hurt to give him an offer. But you shouldn't be looking at a position that you already have a good position of if the rest of your positions are really bad. It just would make no sense. I think that's common sense. But yeah, that's the first thing I would say with scouting. But we're gonna make a prospect board, and I'll come back after I do that and show you kind of where you go from there. We ended up using all of our hours and finished a complete scouting board. And I'm going to be going over why I targeted these people and what you should be looking for when it comes to recruiting, players. For example, this guy is a gem. The best way to put a gem is essentially like a 4-star, like he is. What a gem is kind of like a 5-star prospect. And then for the opposite, we have over here a broken gem. Basically means if he's a 4-star, he's like a 3-star, 3 stars, like a 2-star, and so on. You should understand from there. Unless I have really bad luck too, I feel like always with broken gems, it guarantees they have a development trait that is normal. Like I said, I don't know if I'm just really unlucky, but that's what's happened every time I've actually gotten a broken gem on my team. And then for vice versa with gems, every time I've got one, it has been a guarantee that they are above the normal dev trait, so they at least have impact or higher, which the development traits go normal, impact, star, and elite. So elite being the highest. Anyways, for the guys we went after, I'll explain why we went after all the ones we went after. Starting with this right guard, you could see we're at number 9, so we're already in his top 10 schools. Which means that I think that means we have a really, really high chance of going out and actually getting him. So those are guys you should go after. If you're in the top 10 of his schools or even higher than that, those are guys that definitely you should go after because he already has initial interest without you giving him an offer or without you, using any actions or anything with him. He already is interested in playing for your school. And if you see where it says hometown on the near the top right, you'll see a little number 2 next to his hometown. And for all the schools interested in him, you'll also see after offer and visit, it says P tier. That is your pipeline tier. And obviously, the higher it is the better. So the highest for him being Oregon is a 4-star pipeline or 4-tier pipeline. And that is obviously the higher the better, like I said. You should be going after guys that you have a good pipeline tier in. So I accidentally just backed out the screen, so hold on. But yeah, if you look at all the guys we went after, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2. Like all of our pipeline tiers are relatively good for a lot of these players. And you should be going after people you have good pipeline tiers for, because it is essentially what makes them have a higher chance of going to your school. The better your pipeline tier, the better it is at recruiting these people to your school. And obviously it'll be like, well, why don't you have a 5-star pipeline tier? Well, your pipeline is kind of affected by how good your school is and all that. So, if for example, we are a 2-star school, a lot of our pipelines aren't going to be good. Our highest is a 3, which is in the state of Utah, since we are Utah State. For example, this would be a really good guy to go after, aside from him being a broken gem. Like I said, I don't really go after broken gems, but if you don't really mind and you still think this is a guy you should go after, which definitely is someone I think definitely you should maybe go after. We have a 3-star pipeline because he's in Utah. He's from Utah. If you look at all the schools that are in his top schools, they have a 2-2, no pipeline at all for a lot of these schools. And then at the bottom, there is a 4. But overall, if you have a higher pipeline tier than a lot of the schools in this guy's top interest, it's going to be a lot easier for you to go out and get him, just because you have a higher pipeline. Even if it's not, deal breaker proximity to home, you still have a good chance of getting guys who have, a pipeline tier that is lower, or the rest of the people interested have a lower pipeline tier than you. So this would be a guy, for example, like I said, that it would be easy for you to probably get him if you actually max out using your hours on him every week, just for the simple fact of the pipelines of other schools. Now, what I would also go after is kind of people who have, a lot of lower tier schools in their top, kind of schools that are looking at them, or interest, I would say, just because, from what I've noticed, all the times I lose out on prospects, it's usually the big schools. For example, USC is going to usually take a lot of the top tier talent on the west side of the country. If you're up near Michigan, Michigan's going to take a lot of talent. Down near Alabama, they're going to take a lot of talent. Georgia, Florida, like wherever you're at, a lot of the big schools in that area are going to be the ones taking a lot of these top tier guys. So for example, with this cornerback, they still have good pipeline tiers, but if you look at the top schools interested in him, Fresno State, San Diego State, San Jose, and Boise State are all the top 4 schools on him. Those aren't that good of programs, so because of that, you definitely have a really good chance of going out and getting him, because the programs that are going after him are not as good. And so that's something I would definitely be looking out for. One of the only guys we did go out and try to get that we don't have a pipeline for is another guy that also, if you look at the pipeline tiers, there's not that many on this list. There still is Michigan, who have a 3. You have Penn State with a 4 and Boston College with a 4. But overall, a lot of them don't have a pipeline on him, which means it is a lot easier to probably compete for this guy, considering the interest from other schools are not, they don't have pipelines. So those are the guys I would go after. That's what I like to target. And I've kind of learned that over time. I kind of started off going for just top prospects, regardless of it, not really caring too much about the pipeline. Like, for example, he's the number 1 recruit. We wouldn't probably get him. But, you have almost no chance trying to get a guy that, for example, he's from Texas. The top school trying to get him is the Texas Longhorns. If you think that you have a chance to lure him away from Texas, you probably don't. You're a 2-star program, and his hometown, team, or one of the hometown colleges over there are trying to get him to go there. You're probably not going to get him. So the pipelines do really matter. Same with this quarterback. He's from Michigan. Top school interested in him is Michigan. You're probably not getting a guy like that. So that's obviously what I would do, is go after people in a relatively, close distance to your school. You could sort by pipeline too, if that's something that you think would help you out with finding guys in the area, especially, probably not the best for picking a place with really good talent. But Utah, for example, we have, probably not that many guys coming out of Utah. But since it is our top pipeline, your best chance is getting a lot of these guys that are from Utah. And for example, wherever state you're at is probably going to be the case too. Utah doesn't have that much good talent, so it's a little bit different here. But yeah, so that's what I would do. You could add some of these 3 stars to your board. I think is a good idea if they already have initial interest. And then you could eventually maybe get some 3 stars. Like I said, 3 stars are not bad, especially if you're a low-ranked program. But yeah, so we're going to get to the next week where you could actually do actions and all that and see who, we narrow down the schools for. So now we are on the next week where you could see every school that has gave guys offers, and you could now actually use your recruiting points to, if you see, you could add actions, and you could, add up to 50 for these guys. The better your school, also with this, you could add up to more, or if you upgrade your coaching tree, you'll be able to also add more to these guys. But for us right now, it's only 50. The highest I have seen is like 85 it could get up to, but I also have never really been that good of a school, and haven't went that far. But anyways, we didn't give him a scholarship before, but we are now. This 5-star linebacker, the top schools only have a 2-tier pipeline, and he only has 2 offers right now. So it's not like we're competing with a lot of schools to give him offers, which sucks right now, though, for this right guard. You could see all the schools that gave him offers. He has a lot of schools trying to give him offers. So those are guys that are also harder to compete for. And I would definitely look at, if you, for example, see this guy, he is a broken star or gem or whatever. So we might still go after him just because, if we have additional points, because he has no offers, and he currently also has a highest pipeline with us compared to all the schools that are actually looking at him. And so that's what I mean. Like guys like that, if he has no offers and we have a high pipeline on this guy, it's a really good chance he comes to our school without us even having to use a lot of our, you might not even have to send the house, and you could definitely still be at the top of his list. But with some of these guys, you definitely, or this tight end right here, he has no offers aside from our school. This is a guy we definitely can go out and get. And like I said, I would just continue to look at all the schools to see if they actually are giving offers. But we're going to add points to some of the guys we want to obviously go out and get, though, with the safety being someone we also want to get. So let's add 50 to him. And obviously you could split up your hours. I usually always go 50, especially the first season. You're going to be a bad school. You're going to want to try to get these top guys. You're going to need to obviously try to give the max points to get, some of these guys. Otherwise, you're just not going to have a chance. I'm not going to lie. It's not going to look good. But a lot of these guys are going to also narrow down their top schools. So because of that, you're going to have to kind of pick and choose which ones you want to go after, because you're not going to be able to get everybody. For example, this cornerback right now, he has 4 offers. 3 of the schools are already in California schools, and he's from California. And we're already giving, points to this corner right here. It wouldn't make sense to also use a lot of our points going after another corner unless it was that weak of a position. If corner was really, really, really bad for our school, then I could maybe understand it. But you shouldn't be going after 2 people in the same position. And, you should probably narrow it down at that point. But, the gems are the guys I would always mainly give my points to. We're going to try to get this 5-star middle linebacker just because he is a 5-star. But, yeah, I would definitely give points to guys that you want to go out for, but not everyone that's in the same position. If they play the same position, it would make no sense to go after a whole bunch of guys in the same position. So we're going to try to get this guy too. And maybe, we'll give this guy his scholarship, and then we'll use a lot of our rest of our points for the other guys that, for example, I said it would be probably easy. That's why we're going to go do it. I know he's a broken gem. I wouldn't advise you always go after broken gem talent, but at the end of the day, I think it's a good guy for you to go out and get. We're going to send the house on this tight end because I think he'll be someone that's also relatively easy to get if no school ends up giving him an offer, which no one did the week one. And then with these last 10 points, like I said, if you have a lot of points left over, I would literally just go out and give it to guys that already have initial interest in your school. For example, this left guard has no offers. He also is from Utah. We're going to go out and try to get him. Same with this middle linebacker. No schools have, or he has one offer, but he's from Utah, so we're going to go out and try to get him. And then next, we would probably do that next week with this guy, Greg Maldine. And I wouldn't usually scout these guys. I don't know, this is just me. I mean, if they're a 3-star, regardless, I'm kind of just getting them as like roster filler guys. So I wouldn't care too much about if they're a broken gem or not. Obviously, if they're a gem, it's even more so you want to get them. But yeah, that's what I would do for the week one. And then we'll have to see what happens next week before we continue with our scouting. As you can see, people have narrowed down their top schools. And, you know, we're not that high on a lot of these guys' lists. So we either have to, you know, be more aggressive and kind of just hope that, you know, keep our points there. Or if, you know, we feel like we're too far behind, you could start getting rid of your points and move them other places because, you know, you're basically just dropping out of the race. So that's what I would also consider doing with a lot of these guys. Right now, we're number 1 for this tight end. For this wide receiver, we are number 4. Quarterback, we're number 1. Corner, we're number 2. Safety, we're number 3. But I like to keep my points on a lot of these guys and just kind of hope that, you know, things could figure itself out for this week. Especially with us being locked out on a lot of the other guys that we would have wanted to go after. It just makes the most sense to just kind of run it back. But, like, if there's a guy that you're just too far out of the race for, I would obviously take my points off of him and put them other places. But it's always easier to scout when you have, you know, more points you could end up using. For us right now, that's not the case. But, you know, things happen. We'll figure it out with it. But we're going to add some points to this right outside linebacker. Hopefully that gets us into this guy's top 8. But we're going to continue to sim and wait for them to narrow down their schools until it comes to visits, because then I want to go over visits before we kind of, you know, hope that we can at least get the guys we want. These also matter. We actually didn't go over that. I'm going to go look at that really quick for you guys. But if you come over here to my school, it does show your grades in each thing, and these really affect how it is when it comes to getting talent. If you read the thing, it will tell you how you can get these grades up. For some of them, you can't. Like campus lifestyle, you can't get this grade up. You can't get your academic prestige up. So if your school is bad at these 2 things, well, you're kind of cooked because there's nothing you can really do. But some of these you could definitely obviously change. Pro potential. It says, you know, players that could be drafted on your team. If you have a lot of them, your grade improves. So all your grades do matter because obviously these guys are going to want to play for a better school. If you have bad grades in the things that they care about, they're not going to want to play at your school, you know. So that is something you definitely should focus on when it comes to overall just how scouting is. But, you know, right now I don't think we have any. Oh, this guy's in his top 5. So now that we actually have reached where people are in their top 5s, you could schedule visits. And this is actually a perfect example of a visit that really could matter a lot. As you can see, we are 3rd in the race, and we could schedule a visit, and that could put us above these other schools. Now, if you look at, you know, let me get some points actually so we can schedule a visit. We're going to have to drop out of the race on one of these guys, most likely, if that is the case, though. Or this tight end. This is what I like to do sometimes. It is a little bit risky. But if you're the only one with an offer on someone and you've also, you know, way ahead in the race, sometimes it makes sense to take off some points. Yeah, it could, you know, in the long run suck when a school out of nowhere is coming back and they take the race for the prospect. Then, yeah, it would suck. But what I like to do is kind of take points off like that. and then assign it to a guy with a visit, because you'll get your points back the next week after a visit. But you'll see when it comes to scheduling a visit, you have a little arrow that goes up and down, which basically represents if you are going to get more or less, increase or decrease in influence from that game. So if you play a rival game and a higher tier opponent, you're going to get a lot. So this is actually a perfect game. We were playing Utah, who's another Utah school. And I wonder if they're even in on him. They are also in on him. They're at number 4. So that also does help a lot. But this is a big game. We're going to schedule this. And then you'll see there's a whole bunch of, visits you can give based off grades. We don't know what he cares about aside from proximity to home. So that's why we're going to go with proximity to home. If he cared about playtime, it obviously would make sense to give this to him because it's our highest grade for him. But we're going to give him proximity to home. I would always never give him something that he doesn't care about, and I wouldn't give something you have a low grade in for your visit. So that's what we're going to do for his visit. We scheduled a week 3 visit, which hopefully that could help us a lot in this race for him. And we're going to keep everything the same with our points and continue to sim. Hopefully our team wins that game. You're going to obviously have big games that your team needs to win that could help you recruiting talent. Because I have noticed if my team is losing a lot of games, it gets way harder to recruit. And if my team is winning a lot of games, vice versa. We also have 20 coaching points to spend, so we're going to spend those actually really quick. I want to get it to, number 2 for a lot of these things. Sometimes even 3 because you get increased hours. So that's what I would try to do. And then next we could use it in O-line, I think would be nice. Yeah, let's do O-line because that's one that we're trying to compete for. But we're going to continue to sim this so we could get to next week and see what we look like then in the recruiting race for a lot of these guys. As you can see, this guy we didn't give any points to. We're out of the race now, which does happen. You're not going to get every guy, especially year 1. If you are not that good of a school, don't expect to get that much top-tier talent. If you're able to get, at least 4 4-stars or 3 4-stars, you're still looking really good. So, as you can see here, we are now up to number 2, and it's our visit game. So that's going to be a big game because they have a visit week 4, Washington does. So we need them to obviously hopefully lose that game and for us to win our game. And that would help us a lot in the race for him. And you can see we are ahead of the race on a lot of these guys right now. We're going to lock out, or we're going to get rid of that because we're already locked out. And if we have anyone else in the top 5, we would send them on a visit. Right now we don't. So because of that, we're going to give more of our points to some of these other guys. I don't focus too much on the 3 stars as much as you maybe should. I kind of fully focused on these 4-star guys year 1. And if you don't get them all, you don't get them all. But, I'm definitely going to give my, points to these DBs since we upgraded to where we can give them 65 now. And that's why year 2 is also going to be a lot better when it comes to recruiting for you because by then you should have a lot of these fully upgraded, and which means you could, give a lot more points to a lot of these guys. I would definitely, try to stay in the top 8 for a lot of guys for like this. Hopefully we're working to get into that top 8 because once he narrows it down, we're out of the race. We can't do anything about it at that point. So, we kind of have to hopefully be in someone's top 8. So we're going to take off some of the points here and see if we can, get down to 50. Or no, we're at 45, so I'm just bad at math. We're not going to be able to give him points. So we're stuck with 5. Like I said, you should never end with 0 hours. Always use your hours, okay? Never end with 5 hours remaining. You always could use it somewhere. Literally always somewhere you could use it. So that's what we're going to run again, and hopefully we could win the game against Utah. And hopefully that helps us get this 5-star because, they have Utah as number 1. If Utah starts losing, it makes this a lot better, As you could see, we sim past the week and we ended up beating Utah. So because of that, you see now for this middle linebacker, we are now number 1 in the race because Utah ended up losing. it probably affected the guy. He's like, okay, you know what? Maybe I don't want to play for the school that, lost to the other school that's competing for me. So now I want to go to them. Then for this right guard who we had a visit for that week, obviously that helped us a lot in the race. As if you look at him now, he is really, really close to committing for us. So you have some moves to make then because of that. You could either, take what I like to do sometimes is then give him 40 points because I think that, we could get him at 40 instead of 50 and we have an additional 10 hours. So that's something you actually could definitely do. A lot of these guys don't have their top 5 other than a few, so we're going to give some visits. We're going to have to take some points off for that, though. And so, let me do that really quick. But, hopefully we can get our first commit of this recruiting class for this video here. And same with this left end. I don't know where we really take off a lot of these points for these visits. I would maybe take it off right now with this guy. And hopefully it gets us down to 45. So, it definitely becomes a big thinking process of, where should I spend my points? I like to, like I said, if you're really ahead in a race, it's okay maybe for a week to take off your points here and use it for a visit. If you're in a close race with them, though, or, someone that you really, really want, like this left guard or left end, right now we're really ahead in the race, but I think that there's definitely a chance UCLA could really come out of nowhere and take him. So I'm going to keep my points on him because I don't want to lose out on him. And so, because of that, you just got to hope that stuff like that doesn't happen. But we're going to take our points off of him because we're really ahead and schedule a visit for this wide receiver because he is the one that looks like he's the closest in terms of the race. Or we can't schedule a visit. Even though he's in his top 5, it doesn't let us schedule a visit for some reason. So we're going to give it to somebody else then. Obviously not that guy because it looks like we're looking pretty good. So we're going to maybe give it to the corner over here. Yeah, we're going to give it to this corner here. And we're going to give him, obviously, play time. It's an A+. We're going to give it to him. And we get those 40 points back next week, so we could help us with scheduling a next visit for another guy. Or if we don't really feel like we need to, we can put it back into our tight end or some of these other guys we're looking at to get. Hopefully, though, we do end up getting our first commit next week with Avery Awusika. Okay? I hope I didn't butcher that, but we're going to sim really quick and see. Hopefully, we did end up getting him. Let's see what happened here, okay? Week 4. Do we have our first commit? He does end up committing to Washington. So now with that guy committing, which did suck, we do still have a lot of points now to work with since he did commit, where we scheduled some visits for some of the other guys were the top 4. Obviously, you're going to lose out on guys. Maybe we should have given the full 50. I thought for sure we had that one. I'm not going to lie. But overall, like I said, if you can get at least a few 4-stars or even a 5-star like we might get this year, that's still really good year one. We gave visits to the guys we're the closest in the race for. It was a game where we would lose a lot if we do end up losing the game. But I think it's worth it right now for where we're at in the race with these other guys. But yeah, like I said, it's going to happen. Don't think that because you lost out on one recruit, you're going to have a bad class, as we still have all the other guys we wanted. We're still on right now. No one else is committed. So right now we're still in a good position. It is okay. Sometimes you're not going to get everyone. We're going to upgrade our coach skills so we could hopefully, get some of the other guys we want. And that's where this comes into play. If we recruited our upgraded this thing, with these 5 coins, we would have more hours to recruit him. We probably would have got him already. And so, because of that, like I said, things are going to happen. You're not going to get everybody every time. But if you could, get, like I said, a few good players in the first year, you're still going to be looking really, really good. But as we continue to sim week by week, you could see we're still ahead in the race for a lot of these guys. And we keep getting our points back for these visits, so we could definitely keep giving out visits to these other guys. This right outside linebacker looks really gettable, as we have barely spent points on him, and we've been moving up the list quite a bit every week. So that's someone that we could definitely give more points to. This cornerback has narrowed down his top 3, so we no longer can give him a visit, even though we already did anyways, actually, so never mind. But he's close to committing, so if we can get him to commit, that would be really good. This guy looks like he actually is finally getting a school to try to come after him, so we definitely should spend some more points on him now, hopefully. And with this quarterback, we're going to schedule him a visit. And as you can see, here's the first time you're seeing it, the complimentary visit thing. We have a wide receiver scheduled to come the same week as our quarterback, which definitely helps him in terms of, if he's going to be the quarterback of this program and he's, with a receiver at the visit, he's obviously going to like the visit a lot more, considering he's like, okay, you know what, they're building something here. And then at the same time, there's, visits that are a bad thing to do. For example, if I have 2 receivers going the same week, they're not going to want to be at the same visit because they're essentially competing to be on this team. And so, you have to be kind of careful of where you're going to schedule your visits. It'll always tell you, but like I said, you just got to be careful of where you're scheduling them. We're going to spend the rest of our 40 on this right outside linebacker so we could hopefully get him. But, that's why I said sometimes with these 3 stars, you just give them offer, you'll be on their top list. Literally, this guy we have spent no points on, and right now we are top of his list just for giving him an offer with nothing else. So you should do that, like I said, every week. And we're going to continue to sim. See if we end up winning against Boise State. Our team's 3-1, so our championship contender did go up. So, people narrowed down the schools. I don't know if we won. We did end up losing, but this is a visit game against UNLV for a lot of our guys. As we're going to have to probably schedule a visit for this guy because schools are starting to catch up, as we are now number 1 for him. This wide receiver we're number 1 on, but very, very slightly. It's a close race. And this guy's literally a sliver away from committing. But we're going to have to start spending our points on some other guys soon because all of our guys are starting to narrow down their schools. But we're going to schedule a visit here for week 9, I would do, just because I would rather have it than another game. But we're going to schedule proximity to home, and we're going to keep simming. Okay, we're going to keep simming, trying to get this recruiting class. Let's see what happens. Hopefully we actually get some of the guys this week. As here we go. We have our first commit, our quarterback, Nicholas Bethia. We got a cornerback, Dion Yelk. So those are our first 2 commits, and everyone's still on the board. So we're still looking really good for these other guys. We just got our first 2 commits. 2 4-star commits already at this point of the season. Week 8 is definitely not early on, but it's also not late. And we're still ahead of the race for a lot of these guys. So that's really good. Like I said, this is a guy that, early on I said he's going to be really easy to get. No school even is giving him an offer. At this point, I'm not going to spend points on him that much. We'll spend like 10 points. But if you look at our hours in the top right, because we got 2 commits, we have a lot of points back, which is going to help us a lot with getting the rest of our recruits we want. That's why I said if you get people to commit early on, it's going to help you in the long run at getting a lot of other people to commit to your school. Now, with situations like this where you don't know any of his, if he has a deal breaker, that's something he's going to care about. So with this, it's proximity to home. Technically, we don't know, but we do know that proximity to home we do care about. So that's the type of visit we would schedule for him, as we should hopefully now be in a good position to get a lot of these guys. This receiver, it looks like Washington might take from us, so that sucks. What I like to do is move a lot of my recruits to the top of the board, since we do end up already having them on the team, just so we can remember what we got. And right now we're number 1 on this safety, but it's starting to get a little bit scary with it. I'm not going to lie. But right now, aside from that, we could spend some of our points on our tight end. And then I would probably prefer to go out and look for some other talent now at this point, because we have already spent the max amount of points we can on all the guys that we're already on, which means We can go out and look for some more talent. I'm going to keep it, obviously not cut it, because I want to show you kind of what I do at this point. At this point, if there's still some open prospects that have, for example, right here, Chip Curry, we have a 1-star pipeline. He has no offers. Someone that we would go after. The guys that have no offers right now this late on, you can definitely go out and get relatively easy. For example, this tight end, we have a 1-star pipeline on. We're already going after the tight end, so we won't. But if you look at the top schools that are going after him, Navy and ECU are the top schools. They are both not good at all. With no offers and no big schools going after him, it's pretty easy to get him. I'm not going to lie. But someone like this late in the process, you probably shouldn't go after. He already has 3 offers, one of them being from Texas, Sam Houston, and Arkansas. You're probably not getting this guy. It makes no sense to go after guys like that. So sometimes it's harder to find with some of these, some of these 4-star prospects. But I think it's still worth a shot with a lot of them. To look for guys who have no offers that could still definitely be something you need. So for us, we did end up finding 2 of them. Mainly this running back, we're going to give him an offer. We're going to give him the full 50 points. And we're probably already going to be one of the top schools on him. And then same with this D tackle. We're going to give him the 25 points here as we try to go out and get him. You could spend it on these guys, but I usually don't. Which actually maybe we do next week spend some points on him though, because if you look, it looks like they're starting to actually have, USC starting to try to finally recruit him. So now that he has another offer, it will be possibly a little bit harder. But we're going to send this game against New Mexico State. We're going to keep going with this. This is probably going to be a pretty long video, but it is going to hopefully tell you everything about recruiting. So we lose out on the wide receiver, which does suck. I did kind of expect it, as Washington has now took the 2 guys we did miss out on. And like I kind of did say before, the guys you will lose out on, it's usually going to be the schools that are relatively close to you. That's just how it happens all the time. So, you could then remove them from the board. That's what I would obviously always do. There's no reason to keep them. But now our championship contender kicks in, or isn't kicking in, I should say. And we can't get these guys. So that's why we were able to go out and try to get them, and now we can't. So that's why deal breakers are definitely something you look at before you go after someone. Because some of them can change. Deal breakers, playing style, and playing time could all change. Proximity home obviously will not, but hopefully we can end up getting some of these other guys too, as it is starting to get a little bit scarier for a lot of these guys. We have some upgrade points. So that's something I would always, like I said, always look at your upgrade points. Like, right now we have a lot of hours to spend on some of these guys, but we're giving them max hours and we already scheduled them visits. There's nothing else we could literally do. However, if you have upgrade points, you can maybe upgrade, which I'm going to do for the linebackers. But we're going to upgrade for the linebackers. And hopefully that helps us with giving him more points, which could hopefully end up helping us get him. As let's go over to the 5-star middle linebacker. And now we could give him 65 points. So because of that, look at that. We're going to give him 65. Go over to this other linebacker here. We're going to give him 65. And that should hopefully help us get them a lot easier. Like I said, you should always do it. This one, we have visits that counter each other. So we're going to give him those. And then we're going to give 25 to this quarterback. Because actually, no. We already got a quarterback to commit. But that's why I said look at the interest sometimes of some of the guys. A lot of them are going to be people that you already have here. But, for example, this wide receiver, we missed out on another wide receiver. So let's go try to get Kevin Johns. We're going to give him a offer. And let's give him some points. We have 5 points now remaining. Like I said, with this, I would go to people that are interested in your school. Find a guy that's interested in your school that you haven't offered yet. And you could literally give him an offer, and he'll probably want to come to play for your school instantly almost. So, for example, this free safety, we're going to do it with because it is a position that we definitely could need. and we're not going after yet. So we're going to keep on continue to sim. So, you know, let's see obviously what happens here with some of these other guys. Hopefully we get a commit or two. We get none, but no one also did commit, so we're still in a good position. So yeah, the process is basically the same thing. There's not much else to really show here because until obviously people start committing, but the process is really the same. We might lose out on this left end. It does happen. But, you know, the process, like I said, is going to be the same. You know, you're going to give your points to people, hope that they can come to your school. Once you use them and you get people to commit, you're going to take them and put them elsewhere and keep on doing the same. We might lose out on the safety also, but that sucks. But hopefully we can get some of the other guys. As, you know, we should have a decent recruiting class. I'm going to keep simming, show you when people recruit, and once we get towards the end of the season, I'll show you how our full recruiting class does end up looking. As you can see, we continue to do that for the rest of the season, and we ended up finishing with 1 5-star. We got a whole bunch of 4 stars. We recruited a lot of guys up until the end. We lost out on obviously a few of these guys, but in terms of top classes, as one of the worst schools, first year, we had the 22nd ranked class with 24 commits, 1 5-star, 5 4 stars, 17 3 stars, and 1 2-star. So we still had a really good class, top 22. If you look at all the other top schools in terms of classes, most of these schools are a lot better than Utah State. I mean, these are all ranked schools mainly. And if not, they are, like, example, LSU in Texas may not be ranked, but they are consistently a really good school. And then there's us at 22. So this video probably is pretty long. I don't know, obviously, because I haven't checked. But it definitely took a lot of time. I hope that this has helped you understand and learn a little bit more of how to actually recruit players. As you can see, they're dev traits now. We got a star with him. So hopefully, you know, he turns out well. We got some normals, impacts, not the best, but you know, we still actually had a really good recruiting class though, even though the dev traits aren't that good. But yeah, that's gonna do it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.